Okay, time to do another interesting camera comparison, but this time it is between the odd numbered iPhones. So the 13, 15 and 17. Now according to me, each of these iPhones introduce some great camera features. For example, the 13 introduced the cinematic video feature as well as sensor shift OIS, and then the 15 got the 48 megapixel lens with 2x zoom, and then of course the 17 got the 48 megapixel ultra wide and the brand new center stage selfie camera. Now it's only fair we do a camera comparison between these odd numbered iPhones to see how the latest odd number iPhone 17 is doing. Now what you're looking at is cinematic video from the main lens of each of these iPhones as well as the audio quality. Keep in mind the iPhone 13 only supports 1080p, but it is upscaled to 4K in the video editor. Now let me know which video looks better and which audio sounds better in this noisy, windy environment. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at some portrait shots. Straight away with the first shot, I want to point out something about the iPhone 13 that bugs me every time I do a camera comparison. It's the fact that the phone just produces a shot that is slightly brighter than it should be. As you can notice, the skin tone on my face looks completely off and the 15 and 17 are much better in this aspect. You'll also continue to notice this trend in other shots as well, but it's certainly more noticeable in the shots where people are involved. Other than that, I like the look of the photos from each of these iPhones. The colors on the 17 are ever so slightly better with a rich contrast, while the 13 is not as good. I also like how great the phones are at edge detection. The colors in my brother's photo are also much better on the 17. The 13 also produces this light flare, which honestly does look kinda cool. The fact that this is a tricky shot with the sun in the background and yet the phones did great is a solid thing in my opinion. The rest of the photos also follow the same formula as before, which is the 13 making my skin tones too bright and the 15 and 17 producing an identical shot due to the same sensor and the almost identical photo processing. I do think the 15 is still a great phone in 2025 and beyond, since it offers almost every bit of the features the 17 has but at a fraction of the price. It's certainly a better deal than the 16, which didn't offer anything different. But that's a topic for another video, so subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss it. One big advantage the 15 and 17 have over the 13 is the presence of a 2x toggle or zoom, which allows you to get some clean looking portrait shots at different focal length. I've loved using the 2x zoom on the past few iPhone iterations and I missed it so much on the 12 and 13 while I was making these camera comparisons. I think having the ability to take a 2x portrait shot is great and something the 13 unfortunately cannot do. With 2x, you also get better edge detection as the phone zooms in on the subject and can differentiate between the background more effectively. In some of the shots, I did notice the iPhone 13 performed poorly with edge detection while the 15 did better, and as expected, the 17 was the best. Moving on to some non-portrait shots. These shots are certainly more identical than portrait photos. I mean, the 13 for sure dialed back on the brightness meter in these shots and I prefer that. I mean, not in all the shots, but that's still better than nothing. The ultrawide, as you can see in these photos, is still brighter than it should be. Rest of the details like color reproduction, dynamic range and contrast do appear to be very close. Also, the lenses of each of these phones were kept clean to make sure the shot was as clean as possible. Just wanted to mention that. Next up we have the ultrawide camera. Now the 13 and 15 have the exact same sensor with minute differences, and the 17 has the brand new 48 megapixel sensor, which should help with detailed and sharper shots. In real life though, the differences aren't that noticeable. That's especially true when there's plenty of light to work with. The photos captured with the iPhone 17 do appear ever so slightly sharper, but that's not something you can catch when looking through photos on YouTube or social media. In real life though, I have to admit the shots taken by the 17 do appear to be punchier and detailed. While I didn't admire the ultrawide lens before and felt it didn't serve any purpose, I have come to use it more often since the trip I took earlier this year. Check the 16 Pro Max video to get some more insights. After the ultrawide, we have the main sensor. The 13 comes from the era when Apple milked the 12 megapixel sensor for as long as it could, while the 15 was the first non-Pro iPhone to get the 48 megapixel lens. The 17 continues to use the same 48 megapixel sensor, so don't expect any differences between the 15 and 17. With close-up shots, the larger 48 megapixel sensor produces shallower depth of field compared to the smaller 12 megapixel sensor. Everything else is on point and is similar. The colors, shadows, details, sharpness, dynamic range, and other things are all identical in these shots. Of course, in real life, the 15 and 17 produce slightly sharper shots, but that's not noticeable on social media or YouTube. Even then, I do have to commend the iPhone 13 for still taking some great photos. I've always admired Apple for their consistent performance in cameras, and the way the 13 has aged does show that as well. As for the future, I have a feeling we'll get the main sensor from the 17 Pro on the 18 next year, and it should perform slightly better than the past few iterations. Then it's time to do the 2x comparison. Now the 13 doesn't technically have the 2x toggle, but just for fun I decided to take some photos by manually moving the zoom slider to the 2x for this video. As expected, the 13 produces a shot that's not as detailed or sharp as the 15 and 17. It also appears softer since it's basically digital zoom versus the optical type zoom/crop of the 15 and 17. Like I mentioned before, I love using the 2x zoom on the iPhones I own, and it's just great to have. Now when you look at these photos on YouTube, you might think there's not a huge difference, but trust me, the 15 and 17 are much better in real life. And the fact that the 2x zoom is just a toggle away on these phones is so much more convenient than having to manually get there on the 13. And of course, as discussed in the portrait section, the 2x helps with some close-up shots as well. With that, let's discuss the much hyped selfie camera. Now there is no doubt the iPhone 17 has a better sensor than the 13 and 15. Actually, I'm amazed how Apple didn't gatekeep this sensor from the non-Pro iPhones. But hey, that's a win for everyone. The selfies from the sensor are great, and the fact that you can take full width selfies by cramming in so much background is just awesome. If you're the type of person who takes a lot of selfies or makes content, then the iPhone 17 is certainly for you. I'm not a huge selfie person, but the 17 did get me really excited to take some selfies. Moving on to some low light photography. In less than ideal conditions, the 17 does fare better than the 13 and 15 with its better ultra-wide camera. The photos appear to be sharper and brighter. The 13 and 15 do have softness around the edges. The main sensor is almost similar, but under very low light, the 17 does seem to do better. The 17 also took less time to take these shots, which shows the sensor does take in more light. Now the selfie camera also produces detailed shots on the 17. With the videos, the story is similar. The 17 produces less shakier footage than the 13 and 15. The videos aren't miles apart, but the 17 does seem to have a slight edge. That said, each of these iPhones do suffer with lens flare. I don't do a lot of night photography, so I'm fine with the results, but if you do, then it makes sense to have the latest iPhone. Regular daytime video is quite similar with plenty of light. All the iPhones do have sensor shift OIS, so the video is stable. Details such as color, contrast, dynamic range, shadows, and other things do appear quite similar. Of course, the 15 and 17 produce slightly sharper results with the 48 megapixel sensor. And that's it for this camera comparison. Now as you can see, the iPhone 13 and 15 are still going strong in most camera aspects, but it's also clear that the 17 does have advantages with its new front and ultra-wide camera. The new center stage camera is great for recording landscape videos, as you can see. Now that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions, guys. I'd be happy to answer in the comments. Subscribe, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one.